Hi, everybody. This is Philip Martin, and this is On Film, on Video. It's funny how the pandemic has sort of changed things. We have this week in February, February 12th, actually, where one of the best movies of 2020 is opening. Not just here, but nationally. It's getting a national release. And normally, things that are released nationally in February are usually not very good. But now we have one of the best movies of last year because it came out at Sundance. And I guess that there's a real rationale for assigning it to last year because the Oscars have been pushed back to April. My critics organization doesn't vote until next week, so we are allowed to consider movies up until this weekend, and maybe even, if we've seen them, I guess we can consider them anyway. I've always thought that anyway. It's like you let the critics decide what's a 2020 movie and what's not a 2020 movie, and just vote on it that way. There's no formal sort of, it has to be released or be in this number of theaters or whatever. But Minari is coming out this week, and Minari is something that a lot of people have been, waiting for a while, and that's understandable because it's by an Arkansan, or a guy who was raised in Arkansas, Lee Isaac Chung, and it's about basically his experience. His parents were Korean immigrants, and they moved to Northwest Arkansas basically to get a better life, and they lived in this rural area. And as far as I can tell, I'm almost certain, without having talked to Mr. Chung, who we will have in the newspaper next week. I've been assured that we're finally going to get our interviews with him. I'm pretty sure that this is all drawn from life. I mean, it's not a docudrama. It's not a memoir per se, but it is really probably every incident that happened in this movie probably has some sort of analog in life. It's like a memory play. It feels a lot like Roma to me, which is really interesting because I also said last year that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood had some of that feeling of memory play to me because of the way the city looked and the way they reconstructed Hollywood in the 1960s. Okay, this really feels like Roma because this really feels like this is all lived experience that's been, filtered through this sensibility, and it's almost a perfect movie. I'm not gonna give away, my review, which you've probably read or can read if you want to. It's right there if you're looking at the iPad. But there's not much wrong with this movie. I mean, it's not the thing you can say about this movie. It's not another movie. It's I mean, you could say if you wanted it to be this, it's not that. It's what it is. It's a small scale, low budget, well acted, beautifully shot, just so sensitive and so on point with the experience of its protagonist, who is a child, 7-year-olds, I think. Andy Kim, is that it? Andy Kim, is that right? That can't be right. Andy Kim was the guitar player, or the singer songwriter, from the 70s. Anyway, but I don't have my notes in front of me. I don't know. I should have notes, I guess. But we do this every week, so you know how that goes. So Minari, one of the 2 or 3 top 5 films of 2020 is opening this week. Next week we've got Nomadland, which I really liked a lot. I don't really much care about putting films in order and saying this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, that sort of thing. But in my ballot, it made it to number 1 while Minari was number 2. It's coming out next week. And again, it's a big 2020 movie. This would have been one of those prestige releases at the end of the year for sure. It would have come out in November or December had it not been for the pandemic. And, I don't understand exactly all the forces at play and why you're bringing it out now instead of waiting a little longer, or why you didn't bring it in earlier and put it on VOD and stuff like that. But, that's what everybody is figuring this stuff out. So similar, like we just had Sundance, and normally, and this is the time of year, and every year there's a rhythm to the, the movie seasons. You get the award season, and by now this is the dog days, one of those periods where everything that comes out that's opening theatrical at least. Nationally, opening wide, because we would get stragglers in here. We would get in a tertiary market like Little Rock or Northwest Arkansas, you will get movies opening months, maybe a month after they've opened in New York and Los Angeles. And so you would still get some good movies opening here in January and February in a normal year. But I'm talking about films that are just released out in the wild, just everywhere. You don't generally see good films being released in February. And now we've got 2 weekends in a row where we've got really good ones. We've also got some interesting things that are being released. And I have to admit, I feel bad about not reviewing them. But we've got a lot of copy in the newspaper, and we've got stuff, backed up. I've got things that I've been meaning to run that we haven't been able to run, like the Stanley Tucci interview that I alluded to last week, which isn't going to make the paper now. I'm sorry. Our guys are just churning out too much stuff. We don't have time for them, or space for an AP, an Associated Press piece on Stanley Tucci, even though I liked it very much, so I apologize for that sort of thing. But, we're giving you the product we give you, which is pretty good. Pretty good, I think. I really am kind of proud of the way we've made it through this. We haven't made it through it. I mean, we're still in it. But we've got movies coming out theatrically, like Minari and Nomadland. We've got stuff that's opening that would have been a summer movie last year. Originally, Barb and Star, I think it's Barb and Star Go to Vista Del Mar. That was going to be a summer movie last year, and it's released now. It's Kristen Wiig's follow-up to Bridesmaids. And I have to say that Kristen Wiig, for a long time, was sort of one of those people that if I saw her name in a cast or saw her connected with a movie, I automatically thought, well, that movie's going to be pretty good. Now, Wonder Woman 1984, sort of like, that broke her string, But she still, I still give her a chance. This is an interesting film because, like I said, I've heard about it off and on for a few years now, and it's finally coming out. And it is going to be theatrically in Little Rock, I believe. I don't know about Northwest, but theatrically it's going to have a theater here that's going to show it. And it's also going to all the video-on-demand streaming service places where you can rent it or I guess buy it, and download it and watch it and all that. And so, it's finally out. And I imagine that when you have something like this, and it's been almost, they shot it in probably the summer, early fall of 2019. And I imagine they're just ready to get it out there. The same thing with Minari, which was at Sundance a year ago. And, okay, so we're going to have in Judas and the Black Messiah, which is Sundance this year, is also opening this week. So we've got product coming. That's the key thing, I guess. I mean, sort of like the theaters are open. I don't know how they're doing because every time I go, it's pretty empty. But, and I'm not telling anybody to go to a theater because there's a lot of things that I still think you shouldn't do. And you have to make your own decisions about what you're comfortable with and all that. And I say this every week. But, yeah, the theaters are open. I expect that we can see the end of the traffic jam now. I mean, it's like there's a truck that's jackknifed down there. If we all just kind of stayed in line and let people merge. We could probably get through in 20 minutes, but that's not going to happen because people don't do that. We're all going to, so we'll be here another 45 minutes or so, but we will get past that jackknife truck. And before you know it, we'll be back up or cruising around 78 miles an hour, okay? We just have to be careful until then. Another movie that's opening this week theatrically, and I missed it, and I feel bad about this, is French Exit, because this is one I was really interested in, back in October when it opened at the New York Film Festival, and Piers Marchant saw it, and if I had realized it was opening this week, to be absolutely honest, we'd probably have a review of it. Either I would have reviewed it because the people at Sony Pictures Classics are very good to us, and they're very good at providing screening copies and stuff like that, or Piers would have done it because he saw it, and I don't like, he likes to see them again before before he writes about them. So it was, we couldn't quite turn it around this week. Plus we have a lot of other things planned. So yeah, we let it go. But, you can't see and do everything anymore. You can't be Thomas Jefferson. You can't be the guy who has the library with every book in the world. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to curate a section that has stuff in it that you want to read. And that's basically the only criteria we have now. It used to be mission statement was cover every movie that opens in Arkansas. Now it's like, let's pick a few things that you guys might like to see and like we might be able to be interesting about. Okay, so we've got both Courtney and Piers writing about Land, the two different perspectives on the Robin Wright directorial debut, which I have not seen that either. I mean, again, time, opportunity is short. But, I will see that, and I'm going to see French Exit, and I will probably see Bob and Star go to Vista Del Mar, and I will see Judas and the Black Messiah, just like you guys might. But, it's really interesting because, it's like every night there's something new, and I'm always offered new films, different films. And it's hard to tell it's really hard to tell what is going to make it to a marketplace and create interest. There's one of the best documentaries of last year, Gunda, never played here, and I don't know that it's on any streaming service or anything like that. I'm going to show that to my LiveQuest class today. In fact, depending on when you're watching this, I may be showing it right now. And we're going to talk about that. And there's all kinds of, I'm watching, like right now, I just got into the Amazon Prime thing, Flack. We're finishing up Your Honor, which is a really big waste of New Orleans, but it's still, it's a chance to see Michael Stuhlbarg and Bryan Cranston and Margot Martindale and some other, interesting people act. I wish it were better written, and I wish the people that wrote it had more feel for the city they set it in, but yeah, Your Honor is okay. And no, it's not okay. It's terrible, but it's not terrible. And it's like Lupin, or whatever it's called, the French jewel thief / superhero that's also got a show on Netflix, and it's got a show on Netflix. Omar Sy, and the reason to watch that is to see Paris. Is to see. That's about it. I mean, there's shows. We're watching 19-2, which is good, and I didn't know this. 19-2 is a Canadian police show, which may be the most realistic police show ever, and it focuses on the patrol guys, the guys like Adam 12. It's focused on that, only it's really realistic, and it's really about it's a lot about what happens when they're not in the car together. it's like their social lives and stuff like that, and the pressures that are on cops and stuff like that. And it stars the guy who's in Letterkenny, who created Letterkenny, Jared Keeso, and I found out that was based on a earlier series also called 1902, also set in Montreal, but it was the French version, which I would really like to see. It's probably streaming someplace. I probably could find it. And I don't know if it's parallel storylines or if they just took the idea and they wrote different stories. But yeah, and these things are, probably, I think the first season that I'm watching is 2016, so it's 5 years old. So, and we're watching, as I've mentioned before, watching Borgen, which is 10 years ago. And it's a really brilliant kind of, if you watch Borgen, you watch the second season of Borgen, and you would think it was written off events that were happening in the U.S., in 2018 or something like that, but it's back in 2011, 2012. It's really fascinating. And it's also interesting for an American who, to see how this parliamentary style of government works in Denmark, and as they proudly say, the 12th richest country in the world. Okay, but it's still fun. But that doesn't leave a whole lot of time to go back and like watch old movies like maybe you would want to, or to keep up with the new movies that are popping up in my email every day, which is fun. I mean, I'm glad people are sending me films to see, and I'm glad, but I just cannot keep up and can't keep watching them. And it's always a process of discernment, triage, whatever you want to call it. But, we can't watch everything. So we're watching what we watch. We write about what we write about. And we try to do it in a way that is helpful to people who are interested in film. We're not limited to, we're just not able to cover what goes into theaters like we used to, though there's a lot less going into theaters right now. And we also want to give a full picture of what people think of as movies now, because Netflix films like, Malcolm and Marie, I think, is moving to Netflix now. It was in theaters. Those are important now. Netflix has got a movie opening every week on its, streaming service. And they're real movies. I haven't seen The Dig yet. The Dig is something we should probably, pay attention to. There's stuff on Amazon Prime we should probably... Two of Us, the French film, hasn't played theatrically, hasn't opened theatrically here. It's available on all the streaming channels. It's really good. I'd really like that too. It may be the off the top of my head, it may be the clubhouse leader for best foreign language film this year. And we haven't done. Of course, I just did it. See, that's why we do this. So that's another tip for you all. But it's Two of Us. I mean, you just search for Two of Us, you can find it. It's really quite interesting. It reminded me of a couple films. What were we talking about? Well, anyway, and that's about all I'm going to say today. We're having a lot of technical problems here, so we'll see if this loads on YouTube or not. Take care. We'll talk to you later.